Do you have any qualities that can make you stand out as a leader? Do you know anyone else who has around you? Oftentimes, when we talk about leaders and leadership, we're thinking those are the helm of affairs in a country, in a state, in a local government area, in a community, or our traditional rulers. Well, experience and life and wisdom will tell you and teach you that every time you stand up to do what is right and exhibit qualities of integrity, emotional intelligence, confidence, and you communicate effectively, you have stood yourself out as a leader. Perhaps you could say a leader in the making. So, the message today to all of us is that at different points in our lives and in different environments and different situations, we need to stand out and show ourselves up to be leaders so that others can follow in the best way possible, putting all of us together on the path to continuous progress and development. And that brings us to our main focus today, which is Nigeria and leadership. To have effective leadership, you must have an equally effective group of followers. We'll delve into that much later. We welcome you to Weekend Deal. My name is Thelma Obaze. Weekend Deal! Our show, it's Weekend Deal, where we can interact together and share experiences. But first, let Francis set the tone for our conversation. Francis spoke with Linus Okuri, and if you know him, you know he's a leadership coach. Let's see this.
In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa,
barely 62 years of nationhood, the most critical challenge confronting Nigeria appears to be that of leadership. Many scholars have queried why Nigerians seem to find it difficult to address our perennial leadership problems in spite of abundant human and natural resources available at our disposal. What exactly are people looking out for in a leader?
Everything falls and rises on leadership. Leadership is the ability to inspire, motivate, drive a group of people towards a particular direction by inspiration, not intimidation or manipulation. The leader must have certain qualities, certain competencies that makes him get into the heart of human beings, because human beings will respond to him as a result of the impact he's made on them. In political leadership, the concept of compassion is critical. So imagine when a leader has emotional intelligence. People just follow because they have caught the vision of the leader. So vision, the ability for a leader to have a vision is critical. He's visionary, he's compassionate, and the other one, he's passionate. Imagine if a politician is passionate about serving the people. So that leader brings the passion to bear in leadership. So leadership is also servanthood. So the person who serves is the person who leads.
Nigeria's developmental problems are often connected with bad leadership, which will result in lack of infrastructural development, poverty, and economic downturn.
Every time that you throw up somebody who does not have the right competencies to lead a family, to lead a political organization, to lead a local government, to lead a state, what it means is that you are losing money. You are losing money in incompetencies, because people are incompetent. So they do jobs, they don't do it well. They don't even know how to lead people, how to manage human beings, how to inspire resources, and they lose so much in terms of productivity. And then because people are not leaders, what they do is that they steal more money in order to buy people when it's time to vote. You see the point? And so at the end of the day, they don't impact anybody, they don't motivate anybody, they don't inspire anybody. People do not have respect for them. And because people do not have respect for them, literally what it means is that, people are dying daily as a result of the fact that, people are throwing up people who do not have capacity to lead. The implication of not having great leaders in any system is decline. Our resources are depleted and spent on things that do not even matter. So at the end of the day, our hospitals are not built. At the end of the day, new roads are not created. At the end of the day, people would take monies meant for public good for personal pocket.
One of the powers electorates have at their disposal is the power of recall. A recall is the power of voters to unseat a serving lawmaker before the person's tenure is up. It shows that the sovereign power lies with the people, and they have the right to recall their representatives if they fail to perform their functions in a proper way.
The people are not really who are sitting there not contributing, who are sleeping in the Senate or in the House of Representatives. People bring no contribution to the table. Those are the people that should be recalled. But if the law will take its course, but it never happens. So what we now need to do is to train the people at the local level to increase their level of awareness and to also let them know that they have the power to recall anybody who is not performing. That's why I said leadership, must improve at all levels.
With the just concluded National Assembly election few weeks ago, it was discovered that some long-term senators and House of Representative members lost their seats. While some serving governors did not get elected to the National Assembly, other ex-governors at the National Assembly lost their seats as well. What does this portend for Nigeria's democracy?
Those who have been elected one way or the other in the political space, they should also sit up and know that it is no longer business as usual. The Nigerian voting population, especially the young people coming up, their priorities have changed. Most of them are not interested in your money anymore. They want the right things to be done. And what it means is that they are beginning to rise to leadership. They are beginning to rise to think like leaders. And so 2027, in my own sense, will be much more. The quality of participation will increase like never before. So people would now have to sit up and fight. And there will be a sense of urgency to perform.
Leaders are not necessarily those who hold formal leadership positions. On the contrary, all people are potential leaders. Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on leadership in contemporary Nigeria.
You did watch, listen to our background feature. What we set the tone for our conversation today, talking about leadership and the followership. Indeed, we looked into the cusp that is our country, Nigeria, and that's how we'll be chatting with Captain Daba Suleiman. Captain Daba Suleiman is the Ambassador General of the Polling Units Ambassadors of Nigeria. How do you do?
Thank you so much.
Well, look at Nigeria. Anytime we talk followership, leadership, of course, from wherever we start the conversation, we're delving somewhere, and the focus is the growth and the progress of our country, Nigeria. Oftentimes, we see people just castigate or talk up or down to those at the helm of affairs. They seem to forget that they have a very prominent role to play in the growth and development of any country. I'm referring to us who are the followers, and we're using Nigeria as a case study. So when we talk leadership, what is the role and responsibility of followers, those who elect leaders so that they can be adequately led?
Good. Talma, I see the role of the followers is very key and very important to any country, any nation. Because the followers are people who have laid down their lives, if I may put it that way, that those that they have elected to lead them will lead them properly. And if leadership is not properly given to those followers, you find out that the problem becomes a very big problem in the nation, And that is why we always advise our leaders to always keep to promises that they made to those followers, especially when it comes to elections. You go out there and make promises to those people, and based on those promises that you've made, they elected you into the position of authority. And when you get in there, you jettisoned all those promises that you made. What do you expect from the followers? It's like a father in the house who promised his children good things. And at the end of the day, those good things never came. Do you think the children will be happy with this father? So our leaders must learn to keep to those promises. And I tell you, in Nigeria, in the Nigerian system that I know, our followers are ready to follow and give their best. But our leaders, are they keeping to those promises that they've made?
That's an interesting way to look at it. But let's come to the followers now. You know, we hear people say, I'm not coming out. I'm busy that day. I'm doing something. We found ourselves having to remind and help people organize their schedules in a way that they could go out, get their PVCs, enlighten about their role and responsibility as Nigerians. So now, we ask the question, if you don't play your part in bringing a leader to the helm of any affairs, either statewide, nationwide, community-wide, village-wide, are you equipped? Are you competent enough to now speak against or for that person when you played no role in electing them?
Well, if I may come back to the last election, the last presidential election, I must tell the truth that Nigerian electorate must be commended for their very strong resilience to ensure that the right things are done. See, I target that the Nigerian electorate are the heroes of our democracy for what they've shown us recently. And now, I also want to tell our leaders that the role of the Nigerian electorate in our democratic process is very, very important. When people come out and for election process, just look at what happened in the presidential election. Did you know that there are polling units that we have our electorate staying as late as 3 a.m., 4 a.m. the next morning, Sunday morning, because they wanted to exercise their franchise. But let me tell you that what happened just recently was something that has changed the trajectory of our Nigerian democratic process. So the Nigerian electorate, actually, like I said, they are willing and ready to give everything. Nobody will leave his job or leave his family and stay as late. I see women staying as women with children.
If they are not committed.
If they are not committed.
But let's see this now. According to the information that INEC gave us, almost 90 million Nigerians got registered. That means we had 90 million Nigerians who are above 18 and got their potent PVCs. But time for election, we saw less than 55 million people come out nationwide. So will we say that in spite of getting their PVCs and in spite of the commitment of the over 50 plus million people, there were still some almost 40 million people who sat back that day and watched and waited? And what do we say to them, especially as we have Gubas next week?
No, let me tell you, I must tell you, my sister, is that if we are not careful, people will now even turn up for the gubernatorial elections.
They will not?
They will not turn up for the gubernatorial.
But tell them to. I want you to tell them
No, I will tell them to. But I have to, because we need to be realistic here. You see, what happened in the last election, most of us are not too happy about that. But the truth is, the Nigerian electorate are ready and willing to come out. But you see, we must also agree that we must do the right thing. We must do the right thing in the sense that when the people come out to exercise their franchise, we must give them attention. We must ensure that the right things are done. And when the right things are done, you will even expect, did you know that a lot of persons are not ready to come out for the last election, but because we went out there to tell them.
You must keep telling them.
And emphasizing that your vote will count, that the beavers that we've introduced is a magic kind of a thing. That no, your election, your vote cannot be, your vote will count on the day of election.
I know you have spoken for how we started our conversation about elections was based on the bimodal voter accreditation system. But we'll talk about that because our aim, why we are here, is saying that in spite of, despite this and that, in addition to, Nigerians must come out en masse. We must continue. We, the electorate, have a responsibility.
Of course.
And we must not take it lightly. But while we ruminate on that, we did go out, we did ask some of our correspondents to go out and ask people, because oftentimes we focus on the national helm of affair. We look mainly at Mr. President. We talk about national issues, and many of us are not familiar about what happens in our local environment, like their local government chairperson, their councillors. We don't know how well they are, how knowledgeable they are about the affairs that run their communities, or even who those at the helm of affairs are. And that's why we put this package together. Perhaps we can take a look at this, about the knowledge of Nigerians about their constituencies. Let's see this.
Life is governed by a leader, from family to large units like schools, religious bodies, corporate offices, local government, state and country. Many people focus mainly on the president, the federal government, and in some cases, the state governors without monitoring the wards and local government areas. The question that summarily comes to one's mind is, do you know your local government chairperson or councillor, as the case may be? We went to the streets of Lagos mainland to explore this, and we stumbled on amazing answers.
I've never met him. I've never met my local government chairman.
Surulere, but I don't know the councillor, either the local government, whatever.
I know because I'm from Surulere local government.
See, where I stay, I don't even know him. You understand? Because there's no how we can know who the local government chairman is when you are not even seeing any development in the local government. So how will you know? Because then when there's a new development in the local government, definitely you see the photograph or you hear the applause of the particular local government chairman or chair lady who is there. So I don't even know.
We know them, but local government chairman, are they working? Are they working?
We don't even know who is under like each local government. We just see the head, like the president, the person coming out for this. Since one person is going to win the election, so the whole chamber will follow like that. So we don't know.
You see, that is one of the major problems. Usually, government is supposed to be from the grassroots. But our so-called councillors and their chairmen, you only know them when it's time for election. That's when they will be coming around.
If you know your local government chairman and you know exactly the location of your local government, you have to go there to find out. From there, they have a secretary there. You ask the secretary. The secretary will definitely give you the name of your local government chairman and your ward. Because once you have the voter's card, you will definitely have a ward that you are assigned to.
Whenever you even go to want to see them, they always tell you they are not available. They are not available. So you can imagine.
In case you don't know, here are some local government chairmen and councillors in Lagos State. Moshin Local Government Council, Honorable Bamigboye Emmanuel. Surulere Local Government Council, Honorable Suleiman Bamidele. Shomolu Local Government Council, Honorable Abdul Hamid Salawu. Lagos Mainland Local Government Council, Honorable Omolola Rashidat Essien. Ikeja Local Government Council, Honorable Mujid Alabi Balogun. Yaba LCDA, Honorable Kayode Adejare Omiyale. It is important for us all to know those who govern and make decisions concerning us up till the wards and local government level so that we can hold them accountable.
Omomi did that for us from Lagos. Quite interesting that people, many of them were saying they don't know their local government chairman or their leaders in their communities. And they were saying if the person is working, then they will know. Why do you wait for that? You ought to know from the day your ward, your council chairman, local government chairman is elected. If you are a patriotic Nigerian, oughtn't you to begin to take stock from that point in time? Captain Dabas, tell us.
Well, it's one of the things that we always advise our people at the local level, that we must learn how to ensure that our immediate community, we must ensure how we take care of our immediate community. Meaning that, by extension, I should be able to know my local government chairman. What has he done? What can he do? And all of that. It's hard to start from the grassroots. If I don't know my local government chairman, then I'm not part of that community. And I should be part of that community. I should be responsible to know what is happening in my local government, in my immediate community. So we always advise Nigerians this democratic process must start from our immediate community. What is my local government chairman doing? What is my senator is doing? What is my House of Rep is doing? And we need to ask questions, because Nigerians don't ask questions. And that is why most of our politicians don't do well. If we're beginning to ask questions and throw questions to our politicians and say, well, you came and seek for my vote the last 4 years or 3 years or 2 years or thereabout. What have you done? You promised A, B, C, D. What have you done? These questions must be asked. And that starts from the grassroots.
And, can we look at it the other way? If the people in your local government area or your community don't know you, what does that say about the leader at the helm there in that community? What does that say? Can we now assume that he or she is not working?
Well, of course, that's just the answer to that. Because if you are a local government chairman and somebody from that local government doesn't even know who you are, it means you're not doing anything, you're not performing. Because anyone who performs is like a light. You stand out and everybody knows you. And that's why the people beginning to even ask for more and said, okay, you've done well. Okay, why don't you represent us in a higher level and all of that? But for those who go there and sleep, at the end of the day, they do nothing.
And they're not sleeping, they're having meetings. They have meetings late where they talk with people.
But
they're not planning.
But they're not working for those meetings, they're working for the people. And if you're working for the people should know who you are, should know what you've done. And these are things that we're supposed to, now I tell you, we need to scorecard our leaders.
But can I ask you this? Do we have any incidences, any areas in Nigeria where citizens now say, you have done well as a local government chairman, we now want you to go higher? Have we seen that clamor amongst Nigerians say, you did well at the State House of Assembly, we want you to go national? Or you did well in the House of Reps, let's take you to the Senate. Do we see that occurring?
Let me even give you let me start from my own constituency. My constituency, there's a man who has not been elected to be a leader of the community, but he has done very well.
Done well in what? How do you mean?
Helping, giving people support, entrepreneurship, support and all of that. And those giving scholarship to people, ensuring that the community is moving. And those who are less privileged, help them and all of that. Mothers and all of that. So they came together and said, if you can do this and you're not representing us, then we think you should be a leader. And this man was elected. Even when the opposition party tried so much to ensure that this man doesn't come, they elected him and he became their leader. And when he came, he did so much in just 4 years.
And he's still there.
And he's still there.
But do you know if he's been re-elected?
Yeah, he was re-elected because, of course.
As a House of Rep member?
As a House of Rep member. No, as a House of Rep member. He has performed beyond expectation.
Interesting.
And sometimes, let me tell you, like I said, our people need to take stocks of these leaders.
We have a responsibility.
Yes.
Our people is us.
The electorate.
We are the people.
Yeah, the electorate. See, we have a community, what we call it community platforms that we build in all of those communities to ensure that the people, the electorate, those who live in that community, take authority of that community. In short, as a matter of fact, building a community platform that people beginning to know that this is what we need in our community and this is how we know we can get these things. If we begin to build community platforms like that, development will begin to come from community.
And then again, we must be able to hold those at the helm accountable. Salisu Tale, which is us from Kano, he says, it's a pity, but many local councils are now ghosts of themselves because it seems as though those at the helm of affairs in the state pocket a lot of the allocation, and what is meant for the local government areas and councils don't get to them. It is our hope and the hope of many Nigerians that the 10th Assembly will be able to regulate that. But the 10th Assembly is just the National Assembly. He is also bringing two ideas together. He's talking about the state. He said sometimes those at the helm of affairs at the state do not disburse the requisite funds to the local government areas and councils, and that's why. Captain Dabas, tell us, does it seem from your own angle that Nigerians, as the electorate, the voting populace, are becoming more aware of what we ought to have, and that it is possible to have enviable heights in Nigeria?
Yes, the Nigerian electorate are wiser now. And I think our leaders are beginning to understand that this is not business as usual. We have seen a common man, a taxi driver, an Okada driver being elected into the position of authority. It means that if you can give us what you want, what we want, as Nigerians, we'll vote you into position of authority. And also I want to end it by saying that the Nigerian electorates are very, very key to our democratic process. And for that reason, we must give them that respect and that regard. We pray that we call for calm because, of course, after the election, there are pockets of noise making here and there and all of that. So, but we'll call for calm. Because when there is no country, when there is no peace, there is no country. And we always call for calm, that let everybody look inward and let us relax.
We shouldn't hit up the politics.
And then, of course, let us use the available channel as the Nigerian Constitution has provided to address any of our grievances. Let I also use the opportunity to talk to our leaders, those who are in the helms of affairs, to talk to their followers and their supporters and their agents. Nigeria is our only country. We have no any other country than this country. And if this country becomes on fire, where do we go? We have no other place to go. So we call for calm. Let there be peace. Let us follow the available channel that the Constitution has provided. Let's address whatever grievances that we have. Election will always come and election will always go. The Nigerian electorate
and there will be winners and there will be losers.
Yes, so I think Nigerians are very, very aware right now, and our leaders are very aware that the Nigerian electorate cannot be taken for a ride.
Indeed, indeed. I want to thank you, Captain Dabas Suleiman, Ambassador General, polling units ambassadors of Nigeria. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. Please continue to tell Nigerians out there to come out en masse next week to vote in the Gubas and in the states' houses of assembly, because it's our patriotic duty.
Sure.
It's a responsibility.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on a Weekend Deal. You are watching Weekend Deal. Please keep your comments coming in. Make them courteous and polite, and tell us where you're reaching us from and who you are. You know, address others how you would like to be addressed. You're watching Weekend Deal. It's time for us to touch down now in Rivers State. There's been much talk about what Mr. President said and those who replied, and how they appropriately have utilized the funds which has been allocated to their states. Perhaps this can shine a light on what we're talking about.
The growth and development of any society depends largely on its leadership and the regard it has for positive societal standards. The quality and kind of leaders that presides over the affairs of a state or country, stakeholders say, determines the progress or setbacks experienced in that particular society.
A leader is a servant. You know, when we see ourselves as servants, when we see ourselves as people who are come to serve others, things will change, our mentality will change. But when we see ourselves as just rulers, I'm elected to enrich myself, enrich my family, the problem continues.
Whomever the Almighty Father has ordained to rule our country, Nigeria, to rule our state, to represent us in the House of Rep, Senate, and House of Assembly, should have the mind of service to their fatherland.
Rivers State, like every other state in Nigeria, derives its fund through internally generated revenue, value-added tax, 13% mineral derivation formula, amongst other sources. The leadership of His Excellency Nyesom Wike is one poised in doing what he believes is best in driving sustainable economic growth, provision of quality education, and affordable health care for all, amongst other basic amenities with the available resources. Hence, the continuous infrastructural development as seen across the 23 local government areas by his administration.
When a man has done well, say he has done well on this area. On the other area, he has not done well. He says so. If Buhari did not release the money from 1999, which my party did not even release, I would not have been doing what I did. I say it.
It was difficult to access this community even in dry season. Your Excellency, for you, if you want to construct a road, you fund the road and you complete the road.
How are the people reacting to these developmental strides in the state?
I don't know Port Harcourt again. From Rumo, Okoro, around everywhere, flyover. I say, how does he get money to be doing all these things? I'm highly impressed.
Outside the state capital, Port Harcourt, there are many local communities that have better roads now. Also, within the state capital, there are also some very good roads that help ease movement of cars and passengers to different places.
In all, leadership should be service-oriented, and the selection process of credible leaders must be based on competence and merits.
Credible leaders are elected by an electorate that is aware, that desires a country that will create room for growth and prosperity for all those who are desirous of hard work, who want to put in the work and get the benefit. So you have the responsibility to use that card that you have to bring in leaders that you know, based on what you have read or experienced about their antecedent, that they are able to give us as a people, first at the community level, then at the state level, then at the federal level, what Nigeria truly desires and deserves. Let us welcome our next guest. It's great to have you with us, Chiwe Unaram. Chiwe Unaram is a politician and a chartered consultant, administrator. Great. You know, for a while, I thought you were a chartered consultant, chartered accountant, but you threw more light on that, and we are clearer now. But first and foremost, before all of that, you are a Nigerian. We welcome you to Weekend Deal.
Thank you, Talma. Good morning, and good morning, Nigerians. Thank you for having me this morning.
Great. We have been looking at leadership and, of course, by association, followership. You can't talk about leaders without talking about followers. And when we talk about leaders, people are always thinking, Mr. President, my state governor, you know, my commissioner. They're thinking my minister. They're never thinking themselves. You know, each of us oughtn't we to be able to monitor and cover our immediate environment and do what is right for the country on a daily basis? Let's talk about we, Nigerian citizens, and what we owe our country first.
Thank you, Thomas. Certainly you nailed it when you introduced this very program. An informed electorate surely will make informed decisions. And I think this is one of the problems we are having this time around, whereby you have lots of voters that don't even know why they are voting. They either vote through on ethnic lines, or they are voting through a brother or sister, or they are not really informed about why they must change the governance system they are having for public good. And this we can see is happening in our system, and we must change it as a people. Because first and foremost, we are citizens of the country. And I have been of the school of thought that the best thing for everyone, while growing up and now that we are grown, we have to learn what it takes to be a citizen of a country. The concept of citizenship means, first and foremost, you must be patriotic to your country. First and foremost, you must understand what the needs are, and do not be selfish about it, because we have both leaders and followers that are selfish in their pursuit. And that has also affected the line of voting. What is it in it for me? And those who are voted in are busy seeking rent, or what you can call rent extraction. What is in this policy? They are driving policy based on what is in it for them. And at the end of the day, as a people, we cannot move forward. And the aftermath of that is that we have bad governance with us. When you elect bad people, surely you have bad governance. Like you did mention, it is important to know the antecedent of a leader that you want to bring on board. If that leader is someone you cannot trust, surely that person will not begin to change while in government. So we are bedeviled with bad governance. We cry about it, we talk about it, and it is as if it has no solution. And I don't agree with that. It does have solution. And the solution is making sure collectively as a people, especially the voting public, understands who to vote into power. Is the person you're voting in capable of even driving his or her own life? Talk more of driving other people's lives. Those things must be put into consideration while you go to the polls. Don't go to the polls just because it has to. It's more because I notice more of grandstanding in some cases. You're trying to educate some voters why they have to vote a particular candidate based on your information about that candidate. They are like, no, we think it has to go this way. And when eventually it goes bad, we wish we had listened.
We had listened to somebody who had a more informed knowledge. But let me ask you this, Madam Unorom. For example, perhaps because of what has happened over time, when it's time to vote, some Nigerians think that there's something they need to be given. I won't say vote buying per se, but they think something needs to come to them before they go and before they give their vote to a particular candidate or a particular cause. They no longer see it as all for one, one for all, let's together do what can benefit us. But like you say, what is in it for me? How can we change that one-track dimensional way of thinking?
How to change it, like I mentioned earlier, is for you to understand that you are also part of this process. There will be no leader without a follower. So if you are crying about a bad leader, you must have equally contributed to that leader being a bad person. If you want to vote in a quality candidate, you need to do that from your conscience for public good. You're looking at tomorrow, not the immediate. And when you do vote in that line, that leader's conscience will be pricked when he or she wants to do something wrong. That leader will now understand what it means to, these people want me to perform. But if you don't consider that, you consider giving your vote to the highest bidder, that leader, especially if that leader has a corrupt mind, will go into the system and want to recoup. And that is the problem of that rent seeking. They want to recoup the unnecessary expenses they made. And they wait for you for another 4 years. And they come back. I'll speak from experience. I've contested House of Representatives twice. And when you get out there talking, I will remember vividly, I won't forget it in a hurry. I had a supporter who rushed to my house as early as 6 a.m. that fateful morning, said to me, I came to tell you that there are 3 things it will take to win this election. I was very interested, very curious. I said, please let me know, because the whole thing I'm doing is for our good. He said, number 1. I said, yes. He said, money. I said, okay. 2. He said, money. I said, okay. Number 3. He said, money. I said, 1 money, 2 money, 3 money. Then what do you mean? Certainly, money has role to play in politics, but those must be for logistics that are very important, like movement of materials and personnel. Yes, you use money. But the money aspect is talking about is my ability to line up those that I need to give envelopes. Then my question very quickly was, if I do this, what happens to governance? When you vote me in because of the money I was able to pay, how can I contribute to development? He said, like what? I said, for instance, if I'm to give 1 million to each and every one of you so that I can get this position. At that time, sinking borehole was about 750,000. I don't know how much it is now. I said, do you know you and I have just squandered borehole in each community?
Let's take a trip now back to grassroots politics. The way it is now, it's almost like you need to pay the price from the bottom level. Don't complain if you don't, even as a follower, you don't go to your community to know what is happening. Earlier, we did go around nationwide, and from Lagos, we found that many people don't even know who is leading their wards or local government councils or areas. So that's one. You, who is a politician, you must come from a platform and you must have passed through different levels. You, who is part of the electorate, you must too have begun from the grassroots. So let's talk about how vital grassroots politics even is to the electorate and then to those who vie for political position.
Tema, it is not dispensable at all. There's no how you can lead the people without understanding what their needs are. So at that grassroots level, it is very important to even understand what is it that you need, because when you go around different communities, they have different needs. So you must be able to assess those different needs.
So did you go around before you started to vie?
Of course.
Had you been involved in local politics?
I have been involved in local politics. I've been involved more at the national anyway, but to have a grip, I had to go down there. Most of my friends were like, why don't you do FCT politics? I said, we all came here as a people, but we have origin. So my politics is down at home, at the grassroots level. Even at this president, every election I travel.
So you think you did not win your election or get your seat at the House of Reps because you did not want to put money in envelopes for people?
That's one of the major problems. Another major problem is being a woman.
There's a challenge.
A big challenge.
But women are getting elected.
Yeah. In my own case, I was contesting from my paternal constituency. And there's this cell of unnecessary bad carrots within the system. Oh, don't give her this ticket. If you give her, she will take it to her husband's place.
Indeed.
You know,
would you say that is a backward way of thinking?
Of course, it's very backward. Because my response to that is, I believe I could do this with you people because I started with you people. And I know you. I know what the issues are. I know how I can bring home good governance. And mind you, my marital constituency, they have their own seat. Someone is going to represent them. So there's no how it can be an exchange. But again, it also boils down to the fact that as a country, we must engage in civic education. The people need to be well educated about their responsibility as a citizen.
But can I ask you something?
Yes.
You tried twice now, and you know you have something to give, and you don't want to get to that seat doing the wrong thing, so that when you get there, you are not tempted to delve into the coffers and use what is meant for the people to recoup what you have spent. Are you willing to give it a try again?
Yeah, because I don't believe in quitting. But what I can say now is that I may not know when or what position. It may not be the House of Reps again. But because it's innate in me that I want to really contribute to quality leadership, I'll still give you the chance when I see that opportunity. And also hoping that when I do again, that the people would have been more enlightened.
We have seen a change.
Yeah,
in the way the electorate is thinking.
Yes,
it's gradual.
Especially the new voters. Yeah, they have their own idea to what they want to contribute to the system. We must go on as a people, and because governance is craft, it's statecraft. It cannot happen overnight. It will keep evolving. And all our prayer is that it should evolve positively and not taking one step forward and 10 steps backward. 10 steps backward.
Interesting.
Because if I'm to bring in the topic of the last presidential election, it left a sore taste.
But that's not really our focus now.
But since it's not our focus,
yes, we still want to tell people. No, we still want to tell people that there are things that may not please everyone as we watch, as we see, as we participate. But that should not limit your level of participation as a voter. That's our thrust.
Yes.
Continue to do what is right for you and for country. And then let things are being worked out at different levels. But let me take some messages. We have viewers who are watching us and they contribute. Oh. We have this one from Unsuka. Omeye Sunday reaches us from Unsuka and it says, everything rises and falls on leadership. He said the quality of our life to a large extent is determined by the leaders that we have. We have not got it right in Nigeria as it pertains to the leadership and followership synergy. It's a virtually enormous phase of our developmental process. He said followers must be ready to hold leaders accountable.
I agree with him.
And it also comes to the information that they have and how responsible they have been as the electorate. Did they experience voter apathy and stay home and not vote? Do they know what those people are doing at the grassroots? Do they know what is happening in their states also? And did they sell their votes? If you have been responsible as a citizen, then you can speak when it's time to hold someone accountable. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I quite agree with him. In fact, he's just
summarizing what you have been
what
saying.
I earlier said. If you're not involved, if you don't get involved, if you don't participate, surely there's no how you can begin to even know what is wrong in the first place or to begin to hold somebody accountable to it. So you must participate as a citizen to be able to hold somebody accountable. And I quite agree with him. We have a crisis of governance anyway. It's crisis of leadership, no doubt about that. And that is why I also believe in the school of thought that we need contemporary leaders. Leaders who will collaborate with others to work together achieving the common objective. It's very important. And as a leadership scholar, I'm also of the opinion that leadership must be redefined, not from the aspect whereby you say this is a democratic leader, this is a laissez-faire, this is a transformational leader, this is a transactional leader. Leadership this time should be context-based. You must have that ability to be able to understand or assess the situation at hand and apply the necessary skills. Leadership should not only be the old norm of problem solving. It should also be some complexities or polarities to manage. And you must be able to identify such polarities to be able to manage.
Okay, I'll ask you to hold that thought a bit because I'd like you to tell me later after we take our next feature, when things don't work out as you expect, when you contest, you don't get the position that you're desirous of, to be able to impact your people positively, what else can you do to also change the direction of what people are facing in different communities? Because we have come to learn there are other things you can do even when you're not sitting on a seat, if you've not been elected. But in the meantime, we know that Ayuba went out, he did some research, because we've been talking about allocations, derivation fund, what goes to the federal, what goes to the state, what goes to the local government areas, and how effectively they can be utilized. So Ayuba did this research for us. Ayuba, what did you come up with?
Nigeria, the Constitution stipulates that the federal government is responsible for the collection and distribution of revenue from certain sources, including taxes and custom duties. The federal government retains 52.68% of the revenue, which is then shared with the state and local governments. The state government receives 26.72% of the revenue, while the local government receives 20%. This revenue allocation formula was last reviewed in 2020 by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The allocation of the revenue is based on the needs and developmental priorities of each level of government. The federal government budget is allocated to execute national projects such as roads, airports, rail lines, and other critical infrastructure. The budget also covers the salaries of federal workers and social intervention programs such as the N-Power scheme, the Conditional Cash Transfer Program, and others. In 2022, for instance, the federal government proposed a budget of 16.39 trillion naira with a breakdown of 5.02 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, 3.61 trillion naira for capital expenditure, and 7.76 trillion naira for debt servicing. The state government's budget is allocated to execute projects within the state, such as schools, hospitals, roads, water supply, and other infrastructure development. The budget also covers the salaries of state workers and other programs, such as the Agricultural Intervention Scheme. The local government's budget is allocated to execute projects at the grassroots level, such as markets, motor parks, rural roads, and other basic amenities. The budget also covers the salaries of local government workers and social intervention programs, such as the Conditional Grant Scheme for local government areas and other agricultural programs. However, concerns have been raised over the years about the judicious use of these funds, attributing this to mismanagement and corruption. Regardless, the parastatals responsible for checking these misdeeds continue to work hard at identifying, apprehending, and persecuting corrupt public officials. Therefore, there is a need for transparency and accountability in the allocation and utilization of these funds, so that eventually Nigeria will be up to par with any other first world country as regarding basic amenities, infrastructure, healthcare, education, and the general quality of life, hence justifying the national budget allocation being granted annually.
This is Weekend Deal, and we just saw what Ayuba's research thrust up. We saw allocation, how it comes, and how it is spread to different areas, and perhaps how it can be utilized as well. We showed you something from one of the states in Nigeria, and he made bold to say that he was able to function effectively because President Muhammadu Buhari ensures that all the states, as and at when due, get their allocation, and went as far as paying up all that had not been remitted from 1999 till date. Madam Unorum, we just saw allocation, disbursement to states, and then hopefully it filters down to the local government areas and councils. Some of our comments today from our viewers said that over time, some local government areas, councils, and communities have become ghost-like and ghost towns because funds don't come from the top to the bottom. And we have all discovered how effective and important grassroots politics and people participation is in governance at all levels.
Thelma, this sounds very contradictory.
Okay.
Yeah, very contradictory in the sense that you said all allocations, all disbursements are made from 1999 to date down to the grassroots, and at the same time,
no, I said a governor. Governor said.
Yes, yes, that governor said
yes.
so. And at the same time, you found out that the grassroots is like a ghost.
No, I said comments coming from the viewers say that the funds may not be getting there, but we now hear that they have been disbursed. So some people say it's not reaching them. That's why local government chairpersons can perform effectively.
That still boils down to non-performance in governance, or bad governance, or lack of leadership to actually encourage good governance. If money is meant for a particular thing and is sent out and nobody gets it, then it's siphoned somewhere. Somebody is holding it somewhere. Somebody is not accounting to it. And this whole thing is systematic, and being entrenched in the system is something that must be handled holistically. You can't get one thing right and the other one will be bad. There will be multiply effect of that. So as a country, we must look into our system to make sure, because this is the only country we have, and we cannot continue like this. It will be like not going anywhere at all. There's this vicious circle of you cry, after 4 years you cry, after 4 years you're crying again. And when would that, it's more like a witchcraft, if I may borrow that language. So it's high time we handled whatever is going on.
So if we don't change the way we are doing things,
yes,
we will not see any difference in what we're experiencing.
There will be no difference. We'll just continue experiencing what we're experiencing, and those who cannot take it, take leave of the country. And then we'll start crying.
And we don't want that.
And we don't want that. We want those who have the capacity to effect change, to be within the system and effect change. And they should be allowed to effect that change. And that brings me to the point that, yes, when you seek an elective office, you must not get it. If they play to the rules, you shouldn't be angry about it, because it has to go to one person. Yes. But whereby you are angry about the outcome is when those who are supposed to make sure that the rules of the game is adhered to didn't do that. Then that means that very position that the person is holding has no legitimacy. You just have power and you're exercising authority without legitimacy, and it's not good. Because you also will start paying to see if you can legitimize what is already illegal.
Okay.
It is very wrong.
Okay.
So
but I was asking you now,
if you don't get it, you devise means of contributing.
Okay.
Like 4 years ago, I told a few aspirants of mine within the constituency, I said, I think we should come together as those who have aspired to the position of House of Representatives and see how we can also make contribution within our constituency. We have to make contribution within our constituency as those who have sought for this office will bring in a different perspective and help whoever is on seat at that time to achieve the aim of the constituents. Okay. Yeah, you can make contributions without actually having the position. But unfortunately, those who are on that seat most times wouldn't want any superior contribution so that they will not lose face. Because they know how they got in there. They need to sustain that level of incapacity and appear to have capacity.
Indeed.
That's
there are
it.
other times where people come in the legitimate way, and you can contribute in different
Certainly.
ways. You can help women, you can advise them, you can have community meetings where you can tell women how to save money, how to access loans, how to build their businesses, and how to stay patriotic. We want to thank you, Madam Chinwe Onorum, politician and chartered consultant administrator. We listen and we learn. Because you are, we can be. We'd love to see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you for being a part of Weekend Deal. Bye-bye.